Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's take on Plan a movie about the big war, post big war, about a victim of the bad guys from Germany who tries to get his revenge. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys books 1 through 16. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Now, often I've said they've made so many movies about the big war. There's almost no new ground to tread, but this was new for me. This is about an organization that emerged at the end of the war called Nakam, and that is a Jewish word that means vengeance, or a biblical word. I think they said biblical, and it means vengeance. And this was a group of resistance fighters of sorts. They erupted after the war. And there were Jewish army groups that were hunting down war criminals, and they had certain standards. I think these guys probably later became the basis for the Mossad, because the Mossad hunted a lot of those guys down too. But the interesting thing about this movie is Nakam is going a step further, and I looked it up, and it's actually a true story. So the leader of this group, his plan was an eye for an eye. So he didn't care if he killed civilians or whatever. So his plan was to pay back the bad guys from Germany for every death they had inflicted. The way he saw to do that was his group was going to infiltrate all the water supplies that they were putting back together in Germany and poison them. And I was shocked to learn this was a real thing. So he had guys in position who worked. They stayed in Germany and they pretended to be Germans, essentially, Christian Germans, essentially. And because a lot of the Jewish people were settling in what would become Israel. And so the idea was they would get these positions, and then when the time was right, they were going to poison the water supply and kill millions of people. Millions. So it's about this one guy. Now, he initially, after the war, he's looking for his family, finds that they're dead, and so he joins up with some of the army guys who are secretly whacking some of the bad guys from Germany, let's say. Some of the prison guards and some of the officers. And but they had a standard, and their standard was they had to get at least 2 sources. They had to know who they were dealing with. And they went around, they killed a bunch of guys, but eventually the Brits and the Americans were like, oh, there's a lot of guys disappearing here. We think it might be, and apparently the Brits had a special Jewish branch of fighters they had recruited from Palestine. So they decided, in order to stop all the extrajudicial killings, because the Nuremberg trials were heating up, they transferred most of them to Belgium to get them out of the war zone, or the former war zone. So, and again, this is a true story. So the movie follows Max, the survivor, who joins these guys up, and then eventually they ask him to go undercover with Nakam to stop them. And it's pretty good. It's pretty intense. So I think the third act is a little strange. I won't give it away. This is a non-spoiler review, but I think overall it's pretty good if you're interested in history at all. and it was pretty true. Pretty true the way they roll it out. At least as near as I could tell from the internet sources I checked. So kind of interesting, an interesting moment in history, and something I didn't expect because I expected sort of like early days of the Mossad. They're just whacking bad guys from Germany. Something that I expected to happen in, again, Inglorious Bastards, and it didn't really come together. But it starts that way in the first act. But by the second act, the movie changes, and it's a different kind of movie. So, all right, probably given a few spoilers in that mix, but let me get into the spoilers. So here are the real spoilers. Here's the ending. So you get the first act. It's Max. He's looking for his family. He finds that they're dead. He ends up joining up with the soldiers, and they're taking out bad guys from Germany. Second act, Nakam comes onto the scene, and it's clear that they are going too far. They're going to commit an act of genocide, which is too far. And so initially, Max he's not technically a soldier. He's sort of in on it. He wants his revenge, but he eventually convinces the guys in the army group, let me join up with Nakam and I'll help you. So he does. But they don't trust him because for various reasons. They get the jobs at the water supply. I think Max lies and says he's a plumber. I don't think he's a plumber, but he gets the job, and while he's in there, they fix the water supply and get it flowing again. But at the same time, they are trying to figure out where they're going to put the poison once they get it. The lead of the movement, goes to Palestine, which again would be Israel soon, to acquire the poison he needs to poison the water supply. And Max finds the map where they circle all the places. So at first he's not quite sure what they're doing, but then he gets it, and he's meeting with the army guy who stayed behind in Germany as well. So it's very interesting because it's intrigue right after the war, but it's not against the bad guys from Germany. But the remnants of what happened in that are still there. So some of the Jewish people who try to come back to their homes that were confiscated by the Germans, and the Germans won't give it back, which is sort of messed up. I mean, it's not sort of, it is messed up. It's just messed up. So you see part of that in the movie. So the atmosphere around this movie is just, post-war Germany. It's you don't know what's going to happen. It's very sketchy. And you got a lot of pissed off people. And you can understand why the people in the want to do this. You don't condone it, but you can kind of understand their anger, right? So here's where it gets weird, though. In the third act, what they show you is there's 4 people in their cell, they call it. And it's essentially a terrorist cell. So 2 of them go to pick up the lead terrorist who has the poison. The woman quits, and there's an interesting scene where Max takes her to the movies. And although Max was in the camps, the woman was not. She was in the resistance the entire war. So she doesn't know the full depth, like a lot of people didn't know at first, of what happened in the camps. So there's a movie of the liberated camps, and they show you the horribleness, and she is like falling to pieces, and she kind of puts together that she can't be a part of poisoning the water because she knows it will kill children, and her child died during the war, early in the war. So, and Max takes her there and kind of holds her hand to keep her in her seat to make sure she sees it, because he kind of knows he's trying to get her out of this. And so she leaves the terror cell right after that, shortly after that, to go back to Palestine. The other two guys go to meet the guy with the poison. Max stays behind in case they miss him, and he comes back early, which he does. So Max gets the poison, and then what they do is they show you Max and the leader walking through the city. They're being pursued by the other army guys, who are basically Mossad agents, but they're not calling them Mossad. They call them something else. And Max takes the poison. They chase him through the streets, and Max knows where to go. He's confronted by the army guy, and Max knocks him out and eventually strangles him to death. And you see Max poison the water. And as he's pouring out the poison, he passes out, because I guess the fumes are so much it kills him too. And you see him in the water, and you see him drowning. But then it cuts back to the house before the guy arrives with the poison, and you realize that never happened. It's sort of like Hollywood's version of what could have happened. Like if Max had made that decision, he would have poisoned the water. But instead of the guy with the poison showing up, what really happened, they show you in the movie. And what really happened was the lead terrorist never made it back to Germany. He was intercepted on a boat with the poison. He threw it overboard, and he was arrested. He eventually was. He ended up back in what would become Israel, and I think he did some time, but he wasn't in jail forever, and because he didn't commit it, and I guess they cut him a break, but he became a famous poet. So it's very strange to me how history plays out sometimes, but it's a very different kind of movie, because it was kind of like a thriller all the way up until the end, and then the movie just ends that way. And then they show you the faces of some of the survivors of that terrible time, and and the signature line in the movie is, "What would you do?" And yeah, it's terrible, but very interesting too, because I didn't expect that turn with this even more extreme group that was going after for revenge. So it's kind of about how revenge is too much, and for a moment it seems like Max is going along with it. It really does, for various reasons, and he has every impetus to get that revenge. That's the whole reason he signed up anyway. So I don't know if they ever made a movie about this group before in this thing, but it is it's pretty crazy. Again, I they make way too movies about this era, but like right after is very interesting. The post-war era is probably one of the most intriguing aspects of it, I think, because so much was going on during that time. And so I would recommend this if you don't know this part of history. I mean, I like historical movies. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Different kind of thriller. And it's called Plan A. They don't tell you why it's called Plan A in the movie, but apparently the lead terrorist guy had a Plan A, which was what I just described, and then there was a Plan B to just selectively target guys. And yeah, so very interesting flick, and seems to be mostly on point with the history, which also seems kind of rare. It's not too sensationalized. And I like the lead guy who plays Max. He's got a very interesting look, almost like a Christopher Walken, kind of Rami Malek kind of look to him. Very gaunt, very gaunt. That's the army guy. That's not him. But um, so here's the group. They're planning. This is the lead guy over here. So yeah, I would check it out. It's good stuff. And there's also this weird metaphor with death that one of the former victims of the bad guys from Germany, he has this satchel, and he tells us the lead, like, I can't be killed because I captured death in this bag. And he carries the bag with him, and when he goes to leave for Palestine, he gives him the bag. He said, just don't open it. But of course he does at some point. So it's an interesting metaphor in the film. So if you want to see it, what did we watch it on? I think we watched it on Prime. Yeah, I think this one's on Prime. It might be on Tubi too, but I think it was on Prime. So it's called Plan A. An interesting thriller, because it was like, yeah, you're rooting for Max to not go to the dark side, but there's a lot of grays in here, a lot of grays, and just such a interesting time. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. It's a bleak movie, by the way, kind of bleak. Thanks for tuning in today. I will be doing the live stream tonight. You're seeing this on Saturday, so I'll be doing it tonight at 7 p.m. because I'm going to a Super Bowl party on Sunday, so we're doing a live stream tonight at 7. We'll be talking about movies. As always, the box office probably won't have as much information as we normally have, but we'll still have some fun. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.